Please rise, if you wish, for the invocation and the pledge. Dear God, this evening we are looking forward to our 4th of July celebration and remembering the inspiring words of the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they were endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We are truly blessed to live in a nation that has endured for 249 years and that strives to protect these rights. As we consider the matters before us this evening, grant us wisdom, knowledge, and understanding that we may make the best decisions for those who have entrusted us to represent them. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This is the regular City Council meeting for the month of July. City Clerk, would you do the roll call, please?
Councilmember Sell.
Here.
Councilmember Papalardo.
Here.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Here.
Mayor Chazet.
Here.
Vice Mayor Butlin.
Here. This being the regular meeting for the month of July, we have the opportunity for the public to speak on items that are not on the agenda. Each speaker gets 3 minutes per comment, and we start with Regina Hooney. Did I say the last name right? Okay. Just hoping I got it right.
Good evening, everyone. I've never done this before, so.
Name and address for the record.
Name and address for the record.
Regina Huney, 9 Sanctuary Avenue.
Perfect.
We're of 4 of you live down that road or nearby. I'm concerned about what's happened to our Winn-Dixie. I know that Aldi's is taken over, but you got a community here that goes to Winn-Dixie constantly. I'm there every day. They know me by my first name. And I want to find out, is there anything that can be done to stop Aldi's from taking that over? Is there anything, I don't know where to go from here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Aldi's owns it.
Aldi's what?
Aldi's owns it.
Bingo.
I normally don't, this is not something the city can make not happen.
Yeah.
They bought it as part of the package. So it's like you own your house and nobody can say, I don't want her to live there.
So everything's already been approved by the city as far?
No, Aldi's ownership is a purchase that happened a while back. But any modification of the building has not made it through the development review process. That's something you can follow in as a public thing. You can follow it on our website under development review, and you can see if any plans for that come up for first discussion.
How would we be notified from the city if
It's on the website.
it's on the webpage?
Yeah.
Mayor, I can
Okay.
comment a little bit on it. Look, it's a private transaction, so cities don't get involved in private transactions.
Correct.
And so we can't stop Aldi from buying Winn-Dixie. Whether they convert to Winn-Dixie, again, is a private decision within that corporation. It's my understanding they have applied for a permit for reconstruction within inside the building. Again, they have to follow the Florida Building Code regarding any reconstruction they may have there. But there's a lot of rumors flying around whether it's actually going to convert, not convert. We don't know. All we are responsible for is that building code and making sure it meets the Florida Building Code, that permit. And so that's all. That's whether Aldi buys it or not. The city has no say-so whatsoever.
Okay, it's unfortunate. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Maria Hardwick?
Good evening. Maria Hardwick. I'm at 265 Hazeltine Drive. It's my first meeting, and I've been lived here since 22. My parents, Dorothy and Tody Hardwick, have lived here since 98. And my dad passed in 23, and my mom is turning 97 this year. So I just moved in because of the declining health. But anyway, I just want to give you a compliment. This is a year late but I want to give you a compliment. And that is when we did have was it Milton who came through? And being in the country club, there was a lot of mess of getting in and out. I chose to evacuate with my mom, but coming back, I just want to just compliment on how fast things were done in cleaning things up. The communication was exceptional. I knew you're probably scratching your heads what to do, but I just want to just give you admiration, acknowledgement of the fine job that you all did in the city to do things quickly. And I know it took some time, but another question I had would be, has there anything been done with the front of the country club or anything to, if that were to happen again with all that flooding, is there anything that's been done since then with the homeowners association and the city?
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. I would suggest that the city manager get with you later. That is one of the ways we respond. To say what's going on between the city and the HOA is not something that this is an appropriate place to go into, but he may have some information for you or answer your question. And as far as the major stormwater systems throughout the city, yes, certainly after Milton, there was a review of everything. There are major investments happening on the West High Bank side of the city, which have been long planned and are moving ahead. That's the last piece of the major stormwater system. And there have been actions and discussions about the part of the system that had the problem there by DeBerry Plantation in 1792. But this isn't the setting to go into that in detail. Thank you so much for your compliment, though, on the city's work. Everyone works very hard when we have a disaster like this. We have a small staff, and they work 24/7 trying to get things safe and then back to normal as soon as we can. So thank you. Nick Koval.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for the opportunity to speak here tonight. I come here with a concern. We have a retention pond on Toronto and Alexander Woods. It's been a deplorable situation over the past several years. I brought it to the attention to the city manager on numerous occasions. He informed me that he thought that it belonged to the homeowners association. I did my own little research and found out that it, in fact, does not belong to the Glen Abbey Community Association, nor do I believe it belongs to West Homeowner Association. Now, the city just spent a lot of money building a pump station on James's Pond. That retention pond accommodates the water on Adelaide Street, the complete street. What happens is it's full of grass, debris, etc. Recently, about 10 days ago, it had been weed killer around the pipe. There are two pipes that feed that retention pond. At the northwest corner of the retention pond, there's a sluice box which dumps the water into James's Pond, which would be pumped out. My concern is that every time that's blocked up and we have a heavy rain, the aprons of my driveway and along Adelaide Street are completely flooded. And what that does, Madam Mayor, is going to erode my apron of my driveway. I'm concerned about that because there's some, what happens, it undermines the pavement apron. I would like to have that addressed. Right now, there are weeds in the grass. It's unsightly. And it doesn't look nice. And right across the street, of course, as you know, we have the park there with the basketball court and kids playing around that. I don't know what kind of animals go there, turtles, birds, and so forth. There may be some snakes there, too. I would like that to be addressed, if at all possible. And if it is owned by not any of the homeowner associations, that maybe the city could do some research and violate the owners to have them maintain that retention pond. I would greatly appreciate that because it just happens to be in the rear of my backyard. So, Mayor, I would like that, if at all possible, it can be addressed and taken care of.
Okay.
I thank you for the opportunity to speak here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. And I know the city manager has heard everything that you've said, and he knows what the status is on that and can move forward as appropriate. Next item on our agenda is we have approval of minutes. We have minutes from the special city council meeting of May 21st, the council workshop of June 4, the city council meeting of June 4, the city council workshop of June 18, and the special city council meeting of June 18.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes, items 1 through 5 listed on the agenda.
Second.
Vice Mayor Butland?
Yes.
Councilmember Sell?
Yes.
Councilmember Papalardo?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson?
Yes.
And I am a yes. Are there any additions, deletions, or amendments to the agenda? Seeing none, we move on to item number 6, the first public hearing. The staff is requesting the City Council approve the second reading of ordinance number 04-2025, amending certain sections of the city's land development code and updating the Southwest Sector Mobility Plan and mobility fees. City Attorney, would you read ordinance number 04-2025?
Yes, Mayor. Ordinance number 04-2025, an ordinance of the City of DeBary, Florida, amending Article Roman 5, Chapter 2 of the City Code to provide for mobility fees and matters related thereto, adopting DeBary Southwest Sector Mobility Plan and mobility fee, providing definitions, providing for a mobility fee schedule, providing for other matters related to the adoption, administration, and use of mobility fees, providing for codification, severability, conflicts, and an effective date.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Stephen Babb, Growth Management Director for the City of DeBary. I will be giving the first part of the presentation. A mobility plan, as all the council knows and a large portion of the public knows, is a plan which is used to effectively encourage mixed-use transit-oriented development, infill development, and redevelopment. The city has an existing mobility plan that was adopted in 2020 and focused on the area shown on the screen, which is the blue area on the southwest portion of our city, including the transit-oriented design district. The mobility fee itself is paid for by new growth and does not affect existing homes. The mobility plan also covers mobility projects, which are needed improvements over the next 20 years based on that development. And the fee is paid by the new development to mitigate the traffic in that area and in the city. On the plan maintenance, the plan does require that there is a periodic review by the city manager and that he or she recommend to the city council an update. The update has been recommended and the city council approved the production of a study in October of 2023. Our original contractor, New Urban Concepts, reviewed and updated the new plan, which is going to be presented. Mr. Paul is not here tonight. I will take extracts from his slides from the first reading, and there are 2 public workshops we had, and present them. During our review, we had the Florida legislation and the Florida House, actually, in 2024, passed House Bill 479, which changed the plan methodology. And thus, as a major change to the methodology, we extended our contract to complete a new and updated project. On June 18th, at the last hearing, we had our first reading, which the City Council unanimously voted to move to the second reading. Why are we updating our fee? Well, it's required to review, and it's been recommended to be updated. Also, as I stated, House Bill 472 dramatically changed the way we are going to do the system. It reaffirms our right to adopt an alternative transportation system. It states that only one fee is going to be used to mitigate the transportation impacts, and only one person or the governing agency that issues the permits will collect the fee. Thus, since one agency collects the fees, the city and county will need to work out an interlocal agreement for distribution of those fee funds. How are the fees assessed? The county assesses its full road impact fees. The city assesses mobility fees, less travel on Dirksen Road. The original intent was for the county to lower its fee. They did not agree to lower the fee, and thus our developers were paying both county and city fees. This will be resolved with one agency collecting the fees. The city will collect one fee. We're expanding the benefit district to have a fund share for the for a center turn lane on Dirksen Road. So the benefit area has expanded to include that Dirksen Road. The mobility plan will also include projects of our city streets, US 1792, Dirksen as stated earlier, and the mobility plan is further articulated in the documentation which you have been provided. What funds the mobility plan? Well, the mobility plan is funded by new development. In 2019, the second from the right column is what we anticipated and projected to be the number and types of units, but further analysis shows a slight change, a slight decrease in single-family units, attached and detached, and also a slight decrease in multifamily units. Other elements we project to stay constant. What is the projected cost of the mobility plan is indicated in the second column, which is your $44 million planning level. But $8.5 million of that projected mobility plan fees would be for the Dirksen Road and improvement to Dirksen Road. How this breaks down, I'll show you a series of slides. If we look at single-family residential rates, they're actually, when we come up with a new plan, will be lower with the one fee instead of the two mobility plans and county fees. Multifamily, there will be a 7.5% overall increase. The hotel rate is probably one of the bigger changes, a 23% fee increase. Office, 17.5. General retail, 15.1%. What are some statutory limits for increasing fees? Well, I'm trying to summarize this, is the statutory limits limit the increase to only 50% above current rates, unless there is an extraordinary circumstance study done. We had our contractor look at a study of the extraordinary circumstances and found that extraordinary circumstances do exist. This was presented at first reading in our two other public workshops. What does it require? It requires the things shown on the slide. First, do a study, conduct public workshops, get a supermajority vote of the elected officials, and then we have an option to adopt immediately or go over a multi-year phase period. They did look at what extraordinary circumstances do exist, and there are basically, I believe, 6. One, the city of DeBary has extraordinary population growth, which has exceeded the normal population growth of the state of Florida. We're projected to have this growth rate through 2045. The overall cost of the mobility plan has increased by 130%, excluding Dirksen Drive, and 184% with Dirksen Drive between 2018 and 2024 due to inflation. We've considered the FDOT long-range transportation estimates of per mile construction, which have greatly increased by over 100%. The National Highway Construction Cost Index has increased by 80.4%. And the Southwest Mobility Fee consolidates the existing mobility fee and county fee into one single mobility fee schedule to be collected by one agency, which is the agency which issues the permits. So the finding of extraordinary circumstances was met, presented more in detail on the first reading, and presented at 2 public workshops. As stated, your options remain the same as reflected. But the city staff is recommending we adopt the ordinance, which is a immediate increase to the fees, which would amend certain sections of the Land Development Code and update the Southwest Mobility Plan and the mobility fee schedule. The city manager will give some notes on what has changed between first and second reading as far as portions of the ordinance itself.
Okay, and to be clear, you gave 4 options, but the ordinance as written and passed in first reading was for option 4.
Correct.
Correct, okay.
We're recommending option 4, which was.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor, Council, between the ordinance, we've added some language between first reading and second reading on the ordinance. All of them deal with credits, and they're based upon our experiences with the original mobility plan ordinance, and as we go through negotiations with developers, these experiences come up, and so for further clarification and to eliminate any ambiguity in the ordinance regarding credits, we added language in the ordinance to make it a little more clear what our intent is as far as providing credits. The first one, obviously, is providing 100% credit for any contribution, payment, construction, or dedication for a city facility, which includes roads. Some of the instances that we have, as I explained to you individually, but I'll explain it to the public. Shell Road is in our mobility plan to upgrade, and the question is, what makes up Shell Road? And with the planning with Town Park, Shell Road was a 2-lane road, and it also has 2 parking lanes, parallel parking on each side. When it came to negotiations, obviously, the developer thought that the city should pay for or give credit for the entire road, which is the 2 lanes and the parking lanes. And Kurt was involved in these negotiations as well. We saw that the developer was benefiting from the parallel parking lanes as they were part of his commercial allocation for parking. And he was using Shell Road as part of his commercial allocation. Rather than building a separate parking lot and us paying for the entire Shell Road upgrade, it was decided and agreed upon that the parking lanes will serve as his commercial allocation. Therefore, that particular benefit, we negotiated that factor, and basically came out to 60-40 rather than 100%. And so you will see that in the mobility agreement coming forward in probably the next 60 or 90 days. We negotiated that factor to make sure that what's fair is fair, and they were benefiting off the Shell Road upgrade, and the city should not have to pay for that particular benefit. Second, obviously, were some properties that were being purchased for the trails. Wanted to make it clear that the reimbursement is based upon the cost of acquiring that property and not the fair market value. It's unfair to the city that the developer pays one price for a trail that's in the right-of-way, and then the city has to pay fair market value shortly thereafter. And so we put in there that's got to be the cost of the land that you acquired it for. It's not a money-making deal. It's a reimbursement for the cost of doing construction, the cost of the land. Third, there's also some requirements in the Land Development Code that are required by developers. And on public streets, it is required to put sidewalks on both sides of the street. However, when it's negotiated that one of those sidewalks are turned into a trail, the developer benefits in 2 ways. One, they benefit from not having to do the sidewalk. And second, they benefit from having us pay for the construction, the cost of the land, and any landscaping that might be in the trail right away. And so, in all fairness and protecting the city, that burden should not be we call it double dipping, but they benefit 2 ways. And so what we'll do is, with this passing, is that credit for the trail will subtract his requirement for the sidewalk that he was supposed to do in the first place. In addition to that, there's also some land development code requirements for landscaping. These land development code requires for the entire subdivision. Sometimes the trail and other things, their right-of-way is fairly large, 18 feet. The trail is 10 feet wide. They can move it to one side and have 8 feet to do various types of landscaping. Well, developers have learned that I can take my land development code requirement landscaping and I can put them into the trail right-of-way, and then I can get the city to reimburse me for the cost of all the landscaping. And so we've kind of eliminated that factor, and just basically saying in here that we'll pay for the sod along the sides of the trail as far as the landscaping is concerned, and you can't not use the landscaping that's required by the land development code. Put it in a right-of-way for a trail and try to get reimbursement for it. And so these are some of the things that we've been dealing with over the last year or so as we go through this to make sure that these mobility credits are fair, not only to the developer, but also fair to the city and to its residents. And so, Mayor, in red, as you see in the ordinance there, we ask you to approve ordinance 04-2025 with the amended language in the ordinance.
Okay, thank you. City Clerk, do we have any public participation?
No, ma'am, we do not.
Councilmember Sell, questions or comments?
I like that all the red lettering is, you've taken the magician's secrets on how he pulls off tricks and used them against him. So, it makes me wonder what else developers have up their sleeve sometimes that we don't know about. But yeah, this is great. Thank you.
Councilmember Papalardo?
Yeah, I'd say the same thing, and I'm still on the same page with option number 4 as far as the extraordinary circumstances study. That's all.
Councilmember Stevenson?
Yes, my follow-up question would be in regards to the landscaping. As a trail user myself, I would appreciate having trees and more shade along some of the trails. So if they were doing landscaping above and beyond what was required by the land development code, would that be eligible, or you're explicitly eliminating that?
Well, typically, they don't do that for new trails. I think that could be considered, but this particular ordinance says sod only. But I haven't found a developer yet who will pull extra landscaping for the trails.
Well, I could see where it would benefit them to try to get payment for the landscaping that's required by LDC. And I guess my only concern with if we were to give credits for landscaping nearby the trail is then they might have a shorter or less trail length because, I don't know, is there like a maximum amount of credits or dollars that they can get?
No, for trails, it's full reimbursement for the cost of the property, full construction.
Then I would object to that credit sod only along the trails. I would prefer if that was landscaping above and beyond the LDC code, because I do think that it would improve the value for everybody along trails and trail use if there was trees and shade or landscaping.
So we can put in here, we could amend the language, and it says for trails, the city shall only credit sod along the trails as credits, except if additional landscaping not required by the land development code is installed.
I'd be happy with that.
Okay. Vice Mayor Butler?
Thank you, Mayor. On that note, Councilmember Stevenson, if you put trees, they root, and they pick up anything underneath them, they'll just pop up. And doing that to a trail, I'd hate to have someone bike ride and then have a root that's up, and being that close to the trails, that's why I like the idea of the sod only, correct me if I'm wrong, the sod only for a certain amount of feet, and then landscaping.
Well, that would be fine too, because I agree, our trails are very nice and smooth.
Smooth.
And I wouldn't want them to be uprooted by trees, but then again, it would be nice to have the trees and the shade cover.
And I think as we get-
At a safe distance.
As
from
we
the
grow
trail.
further out into our life as a city and having these trails, maybe there can be pocket parks or something along the trails that you can stop and have a picnic or whatever. I just think for this particular purpose today, I'd rather keep the sod and not have any trees near the trails where it can impede the structure of the trail. I have no problem with whatever was discussed. I'm also in favor of number 4 for the extraordinary circumstances and do it that way. So that's it for me, Mayor.
I'm also have very little to add to the discussion so far. I agree with option number 4. I think that tightening up the language as to how the credits will work is very wise, given our experience in the last couple of years. Having it clear, it benefits everyone. It benefits the city in calculating, and it is a benefit for the developer to know what costs will be. As far as trees next to the trail, I get it for the shade, but trees do, the root systems do eventually interfere with the pavement, in my opinion. And I also think it's unlikely that they would voluntarily put in additional landscaping above what they're required. Landscaping is expensive, and our experience has been they do it to code. So I would have a bit of a hesitation with trees, although I could see things like planting trees at some later date, maybe through the foundation as an effort, or even through city or neighborhood groups wanting to do, add trees where we could make sure they're at appropriate distance, et cetera, et cetera.
I would agree with that as well.
So my preference would be not to amend the language to add extra landscaping. And then all of us can agree that while we have a say-so, we may want to consider whether we would do it. The kinds of trees you plant, you're really planting for 10 years from now, you're planting for your kids. But 10 years from now, too, the root systems grow. So it's sort of a double-edged thing. Is there any thought on other council members having heard the discussion about landscaping trees?
Is it sod only, or do you want, they can get
I
credits?
think it should stay sod only for the time being.
I'd be fine with that,
Yeah.
given the discussion here with
Yeah.
our ability to put in trees at a later
At
date.
a later date. It's a trail that we have
It's
in a
safe,
right-of-way,
A
so.
safe space, yeah.
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 It's a municipal trail for the most part.
Okay, we'll leave it as is.
Okay. So if there's no further discussion, I would entertain a motion.
Should the motion include the amendments that
Yes.
as written?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So I'll make a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance number 04-2025, amending certain sections of the city's land development code and updating the Southwest Sector Mobility Plan and mobility fees with the amendments as stated in, as discussed.
Agenda
The
packet.
agenda packet, the red lines.
Second?
Vice Mayor Butlin?
Yes.
Councilmember Sell?
Yes.
Councilmember Papalardo?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson?
Yes.
And I am a yes. Moving on to agenda item number 7, the staff is requesting the city council approve the second reading of ordinance number 03-2025, establishing a motorized vessel exclusion zone, MVEZ, in the St. Johns River adjacent to Alexander Island Park. City Attorney, would you read ordinance number 03-2025?
Yes, Mayor. Ordinance number 03-2025, an ordinance of the City of DeBary, Florida, creating Chapter 54 governing boats and water safety, including designating a vessel exclusion zone in a portion of the St. Johns River near Alexander Island Park, providing for severability, conflicts, codification, and an effective date.
Good evening, Council. Richard Villasenor, City Engineer. This ordinance is to improve the public safety, protect environmental resources, and enhance the recreational experience for park visitors engaging in non-motorized water activities, such as the use of the kayak launch and the fishing pier that will eventually be added on the park. The city owns the Alexander Island project, property, which the city is currently developing as the Alexander Island Park. I believe also in the first reading, we also mentioned that we also own the land underneath this section of the river. Use of the space as a safe harbor, restricted area favoring the landside park users as use of the non-motorized vessels. Permitting of the motorized vessel exclusion zone through state agencies is currently in progress. This ordinance, as approved, will be part of that permitting process as well. The total river coastline of the Alexander Island is approximately 8,400 linear feet. This exclusion zone will only cover 12% of that entire river coastline. So it's a fraction. Openings in the barrier will be provided, obviously with specific signage and proper marking as allowed by permit, for allowing emergency response vehicles as well to access, while also allowing the non-motorized to go back and forth across the barrier. In the exhibit we see on the screen, it's an exhibit, not final, pending final permitting. It may get adjusted slightly from what you see there. There is no associated costs with adoption of this ordinance, other than future costs of installation, maintenance, and compliance under the Parks and Rec budgets. The recommendation is for the approval of the second reading of Ordinance 03-2025 to establish the motorized vessel exclusion zone as described. Once approved, a copy of the ordinance will be provided to the state agencies for formal approval and registration. Once permitted, the next steps are barrier identification, procurement, coordination with law enforcement, public awareness, and all that is to be completed with the Phase 1 park construction project. And any questions?
Thank you. City Clerk, do we have any public participation?
No, ma'am, we do not.
Councilmember Sell, questions or comments?
No questions.
Councilmember Papalardo.
I'm still feel very strongly about us needing this as a matter of safety for those users of this. I'm excited to see this continue.
Councilmember Stevenson.
I agree, no other questions here.
Vice Mayor Butlin.
I'm very happy that we're doing this. I think I've been there a couple times, and probably 50% of them, there were boaters that parked along there. So I know they'll be here to complain about it once those things go up and they realize what's happening. I'm looking forward to that.
I also support this exclusion zone because it allows the people in the park to access the river, and there are miles and miles of shoreline along the river where boaters can pull off or dock. In fact, the park itself has 7,000 some linear feet of riverfront that is not excluded in this proposal. So this is the section that allows the land users to enjoy the river rather than the river users coming to enjoy the land by boat. And there will be, we expect kayaks and canoes, fishing, things that motorized boat traffic would have a conflict with as far as safety goes. I'm aware that kayaks go into the river along with the motorized boats, but this gives them a protected area to get established in the water, and they can decide whether they want to remain within the protected area or go out in the river along the edge. This is also not main channel. This is along the side that the main channel is in the center. It does not interfere with the main channel. So I'm in support of this ordinance. Is there any further discussion? If not, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance number 03-2025, establishing a motorized vehicle exclusion zone, MVEZ, in the St. Johns River adjacent to Alexander Park.
Second.
Vice Mayor Butlin?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson?
Yes.
Councilmember Papalardo?
Yes.
Councilmember Sell?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Okay, the next item is the city manager is requesting to present to the city council a fiscal year 2025 to 2026 budget preview in preparation for the July 16th council meeting, at which time we will have a budget. Under our charter, the city manager is required to deliver a budget to the council by July 15th, and he has never failed to do that. But he and our head of finance, Liz Bauer, who's over here, I know have been deep into all of the numbers already, preparing for that. And so I was happy to have him give us a preview, particularly since we will get the budget the day before the meeting. Now, that meeting will only set preliminary rates, which only mean that we cannot decide a final rate higher than the preliminary rate. But we may go lower as we work through the rest of the budget process and hearings in the months between then and September, when we have to have adopted the final rates. So, City Manager, tell us the good news about how everything's cheaper.
Well, I can't do that.
Oh.
I can tell you, though, that these are really kind of our plans moving forward. Some things are expected, some things may be unexpected, but let me go through those and see what our challenges are this budget season. So I always talk about process first. The proposed budget is by charter to be delivered July 15th. I believe we're planning to get it to you by the close of business on the 11th, so that you'll have the same time to review it in detail. Again, on the 16th, we are it's a proposed millage rate. That's the highest you can go. And then during the next 2 or 3 months, we'll be working on to true up the budget, true up the numbers. We're still waiting for numbers from Tallahassee, et cetera, and some other budget estimates. And so, again, it's a proposed budget, and then we'll work through the details. We're planning on a council meeting budget workshop August the 20th at 6:30. We'll do it like we did with other meetings. We'll put it as the last item on the agenda and discuss it in detail. And then tentative millage on September the 3rd, and then the final millage on September the 17th. So just going over some of the general fund budget forecasts. As you recall, we passed a salary increase for our employees in March 2025. We paid for that last fiscal year by a budget amendment. Now the full impact of the salary increases occur this fiscal year. We are proposing a 3% salary increase to just keep pace with our competitors regarding employees. And of course, there is an increased cost of goods and services that we're continuing to experience. We're also probably going to experience a little bit of reduction in revenue. As you know, the Florida legislature eliminated the sales tax on commercial rental. They were supposed to be phasing it out as a little bit each year. But we may see a slight reduction in revenue regarding the revenue share and the half-cent sales tax. Commercial rental, sales tax on commercial rental is very large, and it is one of the largest portions of sales tax beyond the sale of food and everything else. So going forward, our public safety, our law enforcement, the sheriff's contract is increasing 8.1%, or $350,833. We've met with the sheriff already, and this is, again, maintaining the same level of service. We do have some facility management there. We haven't painted that facility in the last 10 years. And we're also planning on a few license plate readers to enhance prosecution. And so that's an important factor that we're trying to improve the crime rate in DeBary and continuously improve it on a continuous basis. Public safety, fire services will have 2 full-service fire stations September 2025. They are going through labor negotiations at this time for their salaries for the fire personnel. We anticipate a general overall increase of $300,000 this particular budget. We did not include some equipment requests. We are going to be needing soon, within the next year or two, a future fire engine that we're going to try to plan for. And then equipment that needs to be renewed as well. So right this time, this budget does not include that fire engine, which is $1.2, $1.3 million. And then the equipment ranges from $40,000 to $120,000. So right at this particular moment, when you get the budget on July 11th, those will not be in there. But just want to give you a heads up. We do have some challenges coming forward with a new fire engine that needs to be replaced. I think ours is about 12 years old, 12 to, and it's getting to be in the shop more than we'd like, and so it probably needs to be replaced here soon.
City Manager, there is some movement afoot, perhaps some legal action, over the cost of fire engines. Because, you remember the last time we bought the one years ago for the new fire station, it was 600 and something. So if you're getting a 1.2 million, it's doubled. And it's an industry where there's only one or two manufacturers. And I don't recall all the details, but there is something afoot with a legal challenge, I believe, for the manufacturers, or a regulatory governmental challenge, because yes, things have gone up, but that kind of increase seems disproportionate to whatever else is going on in the industry. So I'm happy for the heads up, but I think that we ought to keep our ear to the ground or do some reading to see what may be afoot in challenging the one or two main manufacturers for this kind of doubling of price in a fairly short period of time. And so if we don't have it in this budget, perhaps we'll have greater clarity, and maybe there can be some correction in that market, just as an aside.
So Mayor and Council, the legal services, I have increased the budget for $400,000 for legal services. We do have potential lawsuits that are coming. The DeBerry Plantation Community Association, or also known as DeBerry Golf and Country Club, is a potential. They have meeting with St. John's Water Management District, have threatened litigation for both St. John's and the city. And so I won't comment any further on that. You know the issue with the Volusia County Schools. We will probably, we have a mediation schedule for later on this month, and so we'll see how that goes. And then, of course, the foreclosure of the Bank of America building. And then there are obviously the contract negotiations with the county on House Bill 479, and also the mobility agreements. You got mobility agreements for Town Park, the Junction, and a number of different projects. Also, Alexander Island, and I separated Alexander Island out from General Parks and Recreation. This time next month, we hope to get the guaranteed maximum price contract. He has guaranteed that once we approve that, he'll get started within 30 days. Given about 9 months worth of construction, that gives us an opportunity to possibly open the park in July of 2026. With that, obviously, that's going to be a heavily visited park. We are going to need 2 additional employees. Particularly, it's going to be extremely heavy on weekends. And so we need to have somebody there all the time and close the park at dusk every day. Another aspect that's required is obviously the maintenance garage. And I don't know why, but ECHO doesn't pay for maintenance garage in their ECHO funding. And so, yeah, we have $50,000 for a maintenance garage to house all of our equipment. And then all the essential new equipment that we're going to need for Alexander Island, the truck, the utility vehicle, a trailer, and then the general landscaping equipment, mowers, blowers, saws, trimmers, and everything else there. We are trying to manage, you know, it's now 220 acres, and so when the trails get built and trimming and everything else, there's a lot of palmettos on the property, and so they go pretty quickly. And so, again, this is just, again, the general landscaping equipment that's going to be needed to maintain the park when it's open. The other Parks and Rec equipment projects, we're obligated for pickleball courts. ECHO did approve us in March for pickleball courts. And with that is obviously the moving of Bill Keller storage. It is, that storage building is about 25 years old. It's extremely old. It needs to be moved for the pickleball court construction. And so that needs to be in there. And then the fire monitoring system at Gateway, it's not functioning the way it should be. It constantly has to be reset, and so we need to replace that. In Public Works, in there, in the budget, road resurfacing, again, we have 600,000 in there for road resurfacing. But again, we're getting to the point where the equipment is just getting too old, and we need, they're constantly in the shop. The F-350 truck, the skid steer is 12 years old, and it's constantly in the shop. 2 mowers, both of them are 11 years old, and then the modular building, and that trailer there on the Public Works is a 2007 trailer, and it was bought in 2015, and it's literally falling apart. And so we need to upgrade, and there's a modular building that seems to work, and it will provide an area, at least for our employees, air conditioning for them to eat lunch and stuff. Right now, there's not that capability. That trailer there is to house the offices for the crew chief and the superintendent. However, there's not a place for our employees to relax and eat lunch, et cetera, other in the air condition. So in summary, Mayor and Council, the current rate is 3.4 mils. We're recommending as a proposed rate at 3.65 mils. And then let's work together as we always do, work through the process and see what we can true up, and hopefully when we get some of the numbers from the state and everything else, we can ease up a little bit on the rate. But at this particular point in time, given some of these external factors that we're going to recommend on July 11th to 3.65 mils. As always, I'll be glad to, between now and July 11th, I'll be glad to meet with you one-on-one, go over all the details, see what your feedback's all about, what you're looking for, what the items you maybe want to cut out of the budget or need to cut out of the budget, and then we'll chew it up as best we can on July the 11th, and then continue to work through the process to our workshop on August the 20th, and then through the 2 hearings in September. So I'd be glad to take any questions or concerns that you might have, and I'll leave it at that.
City Clerk, do we have any public participation?
No, ma'am, we don't.
Okay. Councilmember Sell.
I'm not going to get in the weeds tonight over the budget
Yeah.
from the 3.4 to 365, but yeah, I don't know what happened to the 2-point-something days. They're long gone, but yeah, no, I'm not going to get into anything tonight.
Okay. Councilmember Papalardo.
Thank you. Yeah, I've been mulling it over a lot and trying to get a handle on just how things are changing so dramatically. We got lucky for a couple years on law enforcement, and it's caught up. Fire, we have never gotten lucky with, but we love the firefighters. They do an excellent job, and we're thankful for them. There's some items that obviously would give anybody a pause, especially that fire engine. Mayor, thank you for that information. I'm going to be looking that up because I'm very curious
Please
now
do.
about the
I read it,
litigation.
and I
Yeah.
tucked it in the back of my head, saying at some point we'll get another. It was this spring, so not that long ago.
Okay. I am very curious. I noticed there's a decent amount of capital goods, and I'm curious, is there easily available to share a schedule of capital assets? Could you provide that
Yes.
later? Thank you.
Yeah, I can provide that and give you the age of all of them.
Yeah, that
You will see most of them are double digit.
totally understand. I'm kind of thinking about what the out years look like if we were to push something off, are we just making next year even harder? Because that's what I expect to be the case, and I just want to see the full picture. Other than that, yeah, a lot of this is like emergency and I call pass-through expense, which is really hard to stomach, but it's kind of the cost of doing business, and I don't have any quick objections to what's been presented so far.
Councilmember Stevenson.
I think I will also reserve my comments for later after I review the full budget. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Butlin.
You know, I have a couple of things.
Yeah.
On the law enforcement budget, does that include all the officers that we need at this point? Are we looking to hire any coming?
They haven't proposed any additional.
So what we have is
deputies.
what we're sticking
Yeah,
with.
same
Okay.
level of service, yes.
Okay. I'm still concerned with engine 33, because I know it took us forever to get 39 engine, and if 33 is going to take 18 months or 2 years, that is, you're right, it's in the shop more than it's in service. And I don't know, I'd hate to pull from 39 to service 33 area on a brand-new truck, brand-new fire station. I'd like Chief to come and explain the process of ordering. Do we have to order and pay? Can we order and pay later? Is there a fee? And, you know, whatever we can do to get that ball rolling. I don't want us to be without another fire truck for 2 years because we can't fix 33 anymore. It's exceeded its life already. In a year or two, it's just not gonna fly in my world. So that would be something I would have Chief look at and get back to you. Otherwise, like everyone else, Jim, I'm disappointed. I expected a spreadsheet. Is it coming?
I'll have one, don't worry.
Thank you. I'm sure you will. I just thought
If you
you'd
could
have one
animate
tonight.
it, if you could animate it in a
Right,
PowerPoint,
you
yeah,
know,
that would be good.
so that would be fine. But other than that, I think it's a good start.
Yeah.
I'd like to go higher than the basic, but that's just me, and I've said that every year.
Okay. I appreciate the preview. I wish it were lower. The one thing that I would like at least looked at is the 3% across the board increase. The state has just done 2%. And I'm not sure that everyone is going to be always 3%. We've been in a super inflationary environment. Some things are contracting now. And that doesn't mean that I don't want to properly compensate our employees. You know, I've backed the off cycle with a budget amendment. But I do think that we ought to look at that carefully, not to be ungenerous, but to be prudent. And so if state employees are getting 2%, that may be a signal for other governments as well. I don't know. All I'm saying is I would like some look-see on that and some data by the time we get to a detailed discussion.
We'll do a comparison with all
Right.
our cities.
Right.
And we can make a decision going forward.
And include the state, which is 2%.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. The rest I will withhold any comment until I see the full package. And if there's no further discussion, this was just to give you our feedback. So we would move on to reports. Councilmember Sell, do you have anything to report?
I do. I'm going to use tonight to see if I can take the temperature of the rest of the council. This past week, I became aware that in keeping with the theme of incompetence, Volusia County Schools not doing their due diligence, they were unable to purchase all the property that they wanted to buy for the school down there that they plan on building. They're short, I believe, 6.6 acres. They were unable to purchase because of an HOA attached to the land. If you look on the map, that is most of all their parking that they had planned there on that piece of property. So if for some reason they did win their battle with the city of DeBary, they would have to go back to the table and figure out where they're going to put all their cars. I am asking the council tonight to see if we would allow Carmen to negotiate with the property owner of the 6.6 acres. He wants 1.3 million for that land. That's not something I'm willing to pay for it. I know we just got hit with a millage increase as well, so the timing's not great. This would only be Carmen going to the owner of the property and getting a feel for what he would truly take for the land. The only reason I'm halfway interested in purchasing the land is I think in the end it would benefit our residents. We're already trying to defend them from a school going there now, I think it would be a piece of the puzzle. I think it would maybe possibly eliminate any shenanigans by Volusia County Schools. I don't think it's going to take much of Carmen's time to go to the owner of the property and get a feel for what he really wants for the land. Maybe it's worth less now because the school bought X amount of property around it. I'm not sure, but all I'm asking is if you guys would allow him to go and negotiate and see what number that he comes up with and then bring it back to us. And then that would be when we would really have a discussion. Does that make sense to everybody?
I'll ask, do you have any input,
I do.
Councilmember Papalardo?
This-
We'll stop and we'll have this discussion, then we will move on with reports.
Thank you. This is a wonderful case for the land bank. I will
It
continue.
is, but we don't have it.
I know. So remember that in 2026. I'm not opposed to that idea. I'm hesitant because of the budget numbers we just saw.
Cost.
I appreciate that foresight. That's a very interesting angle that we may have an opportunity there, but I'm a little bit nervous that it might be a little bit out of hand, or out of reach rather, not out of hand. That's my comment.
Councilmember Stevenson?
Yeah, I'm not really interested in adding that much more to the budget. I'd rather it become business.
Vice Mayor Butland?
I agree. I don't think it's something we should look at this point. I just don't see us having the funds to do any of that.
What I see between this idea as compared to some of the things like Palm Drive is that was environmentally sensitive land that was critical to keeping our stormwater drainage working in existing neighborhoods. And I saw that the compelling public reason for buying that. And then it's done a number of other things Carmen was able to make it do at the same time. And similarly with the other mansion properties that we did, most of those are wetlands, they're wet. These are two properties that are zoned for commercial businesses. And the city is not going to my knowledge, undertake to try to be a municipal owner or developer of commercial properties. And so I feel the need, if we purchase properties, to have a compelling need to do so. And in this case, I'm not sure that it has that purpose. Yes, it is very frustrating that we have an adversarial relationship currently with the Volusia County Schools over this proposed school site, which now, without the two parcels that they are unable to purchase, has to be completely redesigned if they would choose to go forward. The other option, to be honest, is that they don't have a contract for the property currently. So I don't think they have standing to do this. But they could conceivably enter into a contract to purchase subject to having the city of DeBary agree that the PUD could have those parcels removed. And that would be our decision. And it would be at our desk. I think that too is unlikely, but that is a potential scenario. And I think, we control that decision because we could all voice our opinions and make our votes at the time. However, I think that there's the possibility that the property owner has not had a happy circumstance with this tentative sale that failed to close at the last minute. So I don't even know that that's a likely scenario. But even having said all that, I am concerned. I don't think that the city currently has as a priority, it's nowhere in our priority list to acquire commercial land and either market it for development or develop it ourselves and then have it turned over to private entities or whatever the plan would be. So I don't see it. Now, having the city manager call and ask the price, I don't have a problem with a phone call, but I'm not sure that I could support a purchase. So, do you think that it is worth having the city manager call for a price if we don't have a strong will to proceed?
Yeah, like if a couple of you guys said, well, it would depend if, it comes down from 1.3 to
Yeah,
$750,000, then we might want to
yeah.
purchase the property as an investment.
Yeah.
And then, so, yeah.
But I have a problem that the school system purchased land as reflected by one council member's comments in a public hearing that I attended. They didn't intend to build a school on the site they bought for a school. They never intended that their vote would be for that. They did it because it had an attractive appraisal value versus purchase value. And I have a personal problem with government entities buying land on speculation that there is a profit to be made by flipping them, using public taxpayer dollars to go down that path. Now, I understand other people, including that school board member who I personally like very well, but I have a problem with that being a government action. So it would be hard for me to vote to buy it unless something different happened.
I think it's dead.
Okay. All right. Councilmember Papalardo.
On Monday morning, I attended the DeLand and West Volusia Greater West Volusia Chamber of Commerce Legacy Investors Breakfast. Very nice event, great program, and happy Independence Day.
Thank you. Councilmember Stevenson.
I just wanted to say thank you again to our marketing team. Eliana and Casey went out and met with some of the fosters for Not Their Fault Feline Foundation. I hope you guys saw that video.
The video, yeah.
It was really cute. There's lots of cats and kittens out there. I thought that we were getting things under control, but we're still getting calls. Tomcats are roaming around. But yeah, give the nonprofit a call or give the animal control a call. They'll get the volunteers out there and try to get things fixed up for you. And thanks, we really appreciate that video. And hopefully we'll get some more fosters or volunteers as well. We always need fosters and volunteers. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Butland.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I also attended Monday morning's Legacy Investor Breakfast with the Chamber, which was very well attended, and it was a great event. We are an investor there and members of that group. A couple things coming up outside of July 4th. The library is doing a DeBarry Day on
July 10th.
July 10th, and it's actually called Celebrating DeBarry with Clayton, the DeBarry Dino. And my understanding is that Cousin Rex is going to be showing up.
Uh-huh.
So if you, 3 o'clock at the library, and I'm looking forward to seeing him there.
Mm-hmm. I too attended the breakfast Monday morning. I also did my regular TPO. We were doing a lot of signing off on decades-long planning documents. And I have mentioned it to some, but the DeBarry Library in early August will have a plaque put up in the children's area that honors the contributions of Suzanne and Gerald Lombardi to the DeBarry Library over many years. Now, Jerry is no longer with us, and Sue is not in good health. So I'm uncertain as to what family representation we'll have. I'm hoping if any of you council members have the occasion or can interact with family members, spread the word and find out if there's somebody that's a good candidate for attending, and I'll be happy to get the details to everyone when we have them. The plaque is currently in the shop to be engraved, and it will probably be ready the end of this month. So we're looking at early August to have a little reception and unveil the plaque. It's something that I worked with the county on because I felt over the years they really gave an extraordinary amount to the library. And it would be nice if that were remembered. I don't think Friends of DeBerry Library is very active. I certainly haven't heard of them since Jerry and Suzanne were unable to continue leading it. But they assisted with a huge financial contribution to help build the library. And that was very generous of them, as they were not people of great wealth. And they also worked diligently year in, year out, book sales and other activities to support that library. And the fact that DeBerry has its own library is largely due to Jerry and Sue's doggedness in making sure we had one. So while it is a late recognition, I'm happy that the county has agreed to do that now, and that we've actually got the process to where we have agreed wording and a bronze plaque, and it has been ordered. So that's it for me. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. All I have is July 4th. We're expecting an extremely large crowd. Let's pray for no rain, and we'll have a good time. So happy birthday to Mr. Papalardo on July 4th. See, I did it in advance.
Is he 249 too?
Feel like it.
Yeah. So that's all I have. Thank you very much, Mayor.
Okay. City Attorney, anything to report?
Not report, but just kind of a safety discussion, if you might, Mayor and Council. On the ordinance number 04-2025, that's item number 6 on the agenda, the mobility fees, the discussion, I think, by the council was that the council did believe there were extraordinary circumstances, and there was not included expressly in the motion. My suggestion is that that if that was intended, which I think it was, based on the discussion that you take a vote now to say that extraordinary circumstances as established by the Southwest Sector Mobility Fee Extraordinary Circumstances Study dated March 2025 is accepted and agreed to by the council. That way, if we do get a challenge, then we can say that that was an express determination by the council.
Okay.
And choosing option 4.
Yes, and choosing.
I think it was said choosing option 4 is in this motion prior to that, but it wasn't verbalized in the motion. Okay, so do you want to give a stab at that motion?
Want to try that one? Recommend approval of the second reading of ordinance number 04-2025, amending certain sections of the Lands Development Code and updating the Southwest Sector Mobility Plan and Mobility Fee, option number 4, with extraordinary circumstances study.
Second.
With the amended.
With the amended, right, on the agenda.
And just for the record, I'd like to note that everyone that was present in this hearing at the time of that ordinance is still here. So
Correct.
Thank you.
Correct.
The staff is.
Do I have to second again?
Second, okay.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Butland?
Yes.
Councilmember Sell?
Yes.
Councilmember Papalardo?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson?
Yes.
And I am a yes.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank
That's
you.
it.
That's it. We stand adjourned.
Awesome.